like 60-year-old Jewish ladies that are just like don't
cigarette hanging out their mouth.
Oh mate, they don't
time,
care.
yeah.
They do not care. Like if you're slow, if you're weak, it's like every man for himself basically. It's like you've got to be so confident
in cafe form.
Yeah, big time. But if you've got a thin skin, don't go. Basically, you've got to be willing to like fight. But once that sandwich arrives, man, on this tray, it is incredible. Like the fat is just dripping down your arm, mustard is dripping down your arm. You just, you're sitting there opposite your mate, just like chowing down on this ridiculous sandwich, having the best time. And then obviously you feel like you're going to have a heart attack by the end of the meal, but it's so worth it.
I've seen photos and videos of these things. They do not skimp on the pastrami either, right?
No way.
Thick. Yeah. But it's like tons of thin slices, right?
Yeah.
But just a lot of it.
Yeah, and I don't get how they can charge that price. I mean, in Britain, that sandwich would be like £40 or something.
Mate, you should have seen mine. It was a pathetic comparison to that. I had like three layers of it. Like, that's it. You know,
mate. Mine's the same when I make it at home because like a pack of pastrami is like £2.
Yeah,
and that's a whole pack. Even a whole pack wouldn't fill one of these American sandwiches. So it's like, it's cheaper to buy a steak for God's sake.
Oh God, it's on the list. There's so many places, dude. Add that to the Blokes trip.
Oh, shall we do a New
American
York
road trip?
Yeah,
New York trip. Oh man, one trip I need to do this, and I don't know who. I don't care who comes with me, but I'm hiring a pickup truck. The older, the better. That won't break down on me, but like super old school, like a Ford F100 and F150 or what are they called? Those old Fords.
No
or
idea.
Like a Dodge Ram or something. And I don't know, just driving a extremely long distance.
Yeah. I think as long as you stop in all the little towns, I think that's the thing.
Exactly.
If you're just driving for driving's sake, I think it gets very boring. Like I've had mates do it. In fact, Pete, who sent us a little note a few weeks ago in the show, he's done a similar trip from like I think it was Vegas to Chicago or something. And he said, it's fun for about 2 hours and then it gets like mind-numbing. But I think if you, especially if you're going through the South and you pick these little towns and you stop at the towns and like spend a bit of money there and enjoy meet the locals, enjoy the local places and, make a trip of it, I think that's when it becomes fun, right? When you actually
100%.
take in America.
Yeah, there are some stretches, aren't there, that are just barren.
Yeah.
It's such a big country. Like I was we flew into Boise, Idaho, and then drove to Yellowstone, basically. And we stupidly drove through the small national park called Grand Teton below Yellowstone, thinking it was like, again, looking at the map of America, your brain thinks England size and don't quite realise the length. And it literally took us, I don't know, maybe a 5-hour detour, this stupid idea we had to go through a second national park. And then Yellowstone itself you wouldn't be able to drive around it in a day, I don't think.
Wow.
It's huge, this thing. Maybe you would, but it would be dark by the time on the way back, It's like all day to get around this thing. Anyway.
Oh, man.
But there was just stretches of road that were just barren.
That's crazy.
In Idaho. Yeah, just farms or just nothing sometimes. Literally nothing that I could discern of any value. Just land. So I can imagine I do get that. Because I love driving. I drive to Scotland quite a lot. But at least there's things to look at on the way up,
Yeah. Angel of the North and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, mate, what a comeback for United yesterday.
Holy heck. Mate, so you sent a text about half-time, right? You sent the text when we were 2-0 down.
Yeah, being like, what's going on here, boys? Yeah.
Oh, dear, oh, dear. Some really, just some, like, silly mistake goals as well. Again, defense just abysmal. So the first goal, I think, was a corner. And, like, the commentator was like, De Gea's been sort of left on his own here for this corner just before they take it. It's like, he looks a bit sort of on his own. And then whip it in. Their play on the front post just knocks it in with his head, basically. De Gea can't do anything about it. It's not his fault. It's just, there's no way he'd be able to react in time. There's just no defenders on, like, two players on our front post. Like,
Yeah.
makes no sense. The second goal was weird. It was like a free kick, but De Gea got his hand on it, but his hand was behind the line.
What?
So he got his hand to it, but he'd positioned himself in a rubbish place. So when he jumped and dived for the ball,
Right.
even when he got the ball, it was behind the line, if that makes sense. So he was like an angle. He was at an angle to the goal line, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it went in, obviously, even though he got his hand on it, which was a shame.
Yeah.
But we came through. We put a sub on Cavani, and he did well. He got two headers in, and Fernandes got a goal as well. So he managed to claw it back. So it was good, but it was just a bit. It's just like, why do we have to win games like that? Why can't we just comfortably win against Southampton?
Yeah, man. That's the fun, though. Those sort of games are great fun.
You're right. It was fun. I'm sorry, you're right. But it's just a bit. It's just a bit. I would like that game against Chelsea or like Leeds or someone like or Tottenham. I'd like a game against them like that. But maybe Southampton. It would be nice to just get a really nice confident win,
comfortable win. Yeah. Mate, I spent the whole of Saturday in front of the TV, like watching sport. I watched Brighton, Liverpool, and I watched VAR destroy Liverpool's chances. It ended up being a draw, but like Liverpool could have won easily. I mean, basically VAR disallowed a couple of, I think it was 2 goals actually, at least one goal, and then a few attempts like with sort of overturned because of VAR. So yeah, I felt for Liverpool on Saturday, and then I watched City obviously against Burnley, and that could have been 10-0, mate. It ended up 5-0, but it could have been 10-0. Like Burnley again, VAR let Burnley off, but yeah, just a little bit of luck to keep it to 5. And they kept touting this statistic, right? I think it's only the second time that one team's beat another by the same margin in like 3 consecutive outings, basically. So City have beat Burnley 5-0 the last 3 times, right? And the only other team that's done that is Notts County, right? they beat Port Vale, and this, like the commentators were saying, like this. I know this is a crazy statistic, and nobody cares about County or Port Vale. I don't know how our researchers have even found this out, but Notts County are the only other team to do it. So I was like, yeah, my 2 teams, County and City. But yeah, that was good. So it was I was glad to see City back in the goals. And they just played really well. Like it seems like they've got too many attacking options, which it's definitely not a bad thing. But it seems like Guardiola's almost got too many. I don't know whether that might become a problem, or maybe part of the problem they were having the last few games, that they've not got a settled lineup. But there's just so many great forwards and midfielders. But and then. So yeah, I couldn't spend any more time in front of the TV on Sunday, but I was like sort of catching up on my phone, like I was following United, and and a draw for Tottenham and Chelsea as well. So that's still pretty tight at the top of the table. All right,
yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Yeah.
I did want to talk to you about snooker.
Oh, okay.
Because it is the UK Championships right now, and this is another one of these sports that like I've got sort of rose tinted glasses. I've got this sort of deep down love for snooker, right? And I watched a little bit yesterday. I watched Ronnie O'Sullivan get knocked out in the second round of the UK Championship. So it's like a massive upset. This young Swiss lad called Alexander. Oh, hang on, let me find it. It's a Swiss name. He's Ersenbacher. Alexander Ersenbacher knocked out Ronnie O'Sullivan, and that was a great game. Wow. Like, Ronnie was super humble as well. He was just, he had no excuses. He just said he played crap and he let Ersenbacher in, basically. But there's some fantastic talents in snooker at the moment, and I just wondered whether you keep an eye on it, or whether it's whether you watched it back in the day or anything like that, or is it up your alley?
I do enjoy watching it, but no, I can't say that I keep an eye on it much. Again, this is just callback. My dad would watch it. This is classic one of his. We always used to play pool and snooker against each other. So he definitely loved it, but it's not something that's rubbed off on me. So other than sort of big names like you say, Ronnie O'Sullivan and stuff like that, there's not much I know about it, and I never really keep up with it. But I do enjoy watching it.
Okay, fair.
It's a good sport to watch, and I love playing it as well. I mean, it's a good laugh to play with a mate.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can't believe how popular it used to be back in the day. You know, like in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, it was like millions and millions of people were watching snooker on a Saturday night, like just glued to the telly. You know, it had the biggest audience share, like for God knows how many years. You know, Dennis Taylor and that in '85 with his big jam jar gigs, like massive snooker glasses. And Steve Davis in '85, and that was just I can't remember how many millions watched it, but it's like you can't imagine that nowadays, can you? We've got too much choice. Like I think people used to watch snooker because it was, it's fantastic, it's a wonderful sport, but it's because there wasn't much else on. Like people would be glued to the snooker, and it would just be essentially silent, apart from the odd word from the commentator. Essentially silent for like 3 hours on a Saturday night. Just people sitting at home, just like, who's going to win?
And if the crowd show any emotion, you've got someone just saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, stop!"
Yeah. Shh. Excuse me, please. I love it, and that's just so English. You can't imagine any other country in the world doing anything like that, apart from maybe the Russians watching chess or something like that. That's the only equivalent I can think of.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think it's a similar issue. Like back in the day, having all those people watching snooker. I think it's the same with bands. To be honest, I don't think we're going to have another band that. I was having a conversation with a mate of mine the other day about how we're not going to have a rock band that's going to match anything that we've seen before. Oasis, Beatles, Rolling Stones, Foo Fighters, the sort of bigger rock bands that are sort of dying out or have died out, obviously, over time. We'll never get to that. Not because there aren't good rock bands about, but more the fact that there's just too many options.
Yeah.
And it's too easy to get music, and it's too easy to grab people's attention, that no one band gets the lion's share of people caring about them.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is kind of sad. It's a sad thought, I think. I don't know.
Oh, big time. I guess, There's countless songs and albums and stuff released that I listen to thinking, God, if this was released in like the late 70s, this would win a Grammy. This is incredible stuff, you know. Not just because it's particularly my type of music, but just incredible music that is out there that just most people haven't heard of. Because, like you say, there's a million different avenues to listen to music or like consume music, and it's a lot of that stuff just isn't getting out there. And the stuff that is just like the same old crap. You know, some people that have won Grammys, I'm like, what on earth is this? You know, compared to stuff that I'd love it if there was an actual like music prize that was just for good music, you know. I know you've got the sort of is it Ivor Novello's or the what's the new up and coming music one? Mercury Prize. That's
Mercury, yeah.
Mercury.
James Blake got that a few years ago and stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's all right. I mean, it's new music, but it's still not. It's still just what you're being fed, isn't it? It's not like really good music. It's
like they're with the Mercury Prize. I feel like they're trying to sort of
be weird.
They're trying to be weird. They're trying to say like, oh, this is going to be the next big thing. Yeah. This kind of music, and then they miss so many times. You know?
Oh yeah.
Like I like James Blake. That he won it when I was at uni. Christ, 7 years ago, however long that was. Can't do the maths on that on my head, but
it was about 7.
And he's he was cool, but it's like he's not like that kind of music, that sort of experimental sort of soundscape kind of jazz. I don't even know what it was, but it didn't kick off, you know. It wasn't the next big thing, and it's and as good as it was, it's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not got its thumb on the pulse, and it's not going to get enough people to get behind it, you know.
So in fact, that leads nicely into me letting everybody know that we've got a Blokes podcast Spotify playlist.
Yes.
So we can perhaps put a link to that on Instagram or something. But yeah, if you search Blokes Podcast on Spotify, as well as obviously